It is the moment you've all been waiting for. I guess I kind of hyped that up like it's 50,000 people listening. But it is mock draft, the lottery version. And let's get right into it. The first pick, and again, this is based off the records from worst to first and the tiebreakers. The first pick is the Houston Rockets. It is a no-brainer. I'm selecting Cade Cunningham. The Rockets could have a very nice backcourt with Cade Cunningham and Kevin Porter Jr. John Wall, I know you're making a gazillion dollars, but you're the odd man out. I know it's probably too much money for a buyout. But if the Rockets select Cade Cunningham, he's the future. Now, they may be creative and go with a lineup of John Wall, Kevin Porter Jr., and Cade Cunningham at the 3. I think that would be something that they could possibly start off with. Very curious to see what happens with John Wall this offseason. I think it'll be tough to move, but stranger things have happened in the NBA. But Cade Cunningham to the Rockets is a no-brainer. At number 2, the Detroit Pistons. If I'm in charge of Detroit, I'm selecting Evan Mobley. Kind of tough. Isaiah Stewart had a pretty good rookie year. I think he exceeded expectations. Very interesting because he was projected as a top 10 pick going into his freshman year at Washington. Fell down. A lot of people didn't even see him as a first-round pick. Ended up being selected in the first round and had a very good rookie year. I just think Evan Mobley's just too good to pass up. I think that Mobley can also play some 4-5 maybe. And I'm believing in his upside as a shooter. Mobley's very skilled. I've seen the comparisons to Anthony Davis and Chris Bosh. If he is somewhere in between, that's great. If he's a little bit less than Bosh, that's great. I mean, Bosh is a Hall of Famer. So, again, Detroit Pistons at number 2. I'm selecting Evan Mobley. And this is where it gets a little bit different for me. So, at number 3 is the Orlando Magic. And, again, this is if the order is based off of record. The lottery is going to be a lot different. But if Orlando ends up with the 3rd pick, there's a lot of redundancy with their guards. You have Markelle Fultz, who they just paid coming off an injury. Cole Anthony had a pretty good rookie year. R.J. Hampton, who they traded for at the deadline as part of the Aaron Gordon deal, had a strong finish to his rookie year. So there's 3 guards right there that need minutes. You have Jonathan Isaac, who should be coming back off an injury. Then at the 5 spot, you have Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba. And Bamba actually showed some signs of life after they moved Vucevic. So Jonathan Kuminga, to me, is the no-brainer here because he is a little bit different and he kind of breaks up all the redundancy. So I would go Kuminga at number 3. I don't have him as the 3rd best player on my board, but I think he makes the most sense for Orlando, if that makes sense to you. Unless they plan on moving one of their guards this offseason, but I don't really think that makes any sense. Again, that's the 3rd time I've used that word in the last minute. So let me just go ahead and move on to number 4. At number 4, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a tough situation for them, but they're in a situation where they're looking to collect as much talent as possible. I thought Luguentz Dort had a very good second year. And, I mean, what a value pick. He wasn't even drafted, if I'm not mistaken. And then once he started playing well, I think they just decided to just kind of cut his minutes because he may have been helping them win with his defense. You had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who there are some people who think his injury was a little bit suspicious. But he's the cornerstone, at least in my opinion. He's their cornerstone right now. Pokusevski had a strong rookie year. Teo Maledon had a good rookie year. They showed flashes. They were in a situation where they were put in position to succeed. And if they would have lost games, it didn't matter because Oklahoma City was tanking. Almost as bad as Sam Hinkie. You know, there's no difference. Tanking is what they're doing. I think there's an extra emphasis. When I have to say it twice, that's another level of tanking. But anyway, Jalen Green would be the pick here. it's, if you listen to what I just said about Orlando has a lot of redundancy at guards. And if the Thunder select Jalen Green, then that gives them a lot of redundancy at guard. But again, they're in a situation where they're looking to collect as much talent as possible. We'll see if Jalen Green is their choice. What type of lineup would they throw out there? Because it's a lot of guys that play the same position, a lot of guys that need the ball, but they would be pretty exciting. And at number 5, it is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is where it gets tricky. If the Cleveland Cavaliers select number 5, I think Scottie Barnes makes the most sense here. It's going to be tough to see Jalen Suggs fall out of the top 5, but I think, again, the word I've been using is redundancy. Jalen Suggs would add redundancy to their backcourt. Now, he would add some size. One of the issues that the Cavaliers backcourt has is that they lack size, and Suggs would add a little bit more size than what they already have. But I think Scottie Barnes makes the most sense. So let's say they do select Scottie Barnes at number 5. You could end up with a lineup of Darius Garland at the 1, Colin Sexton at the 2, Isaac Okoro at the 3, Scottie Barnes at the 4, and Jared Allen at the 5. I think that would be a pretty good lineup. I think that they would be competitive. I think Barnes would add some additional playmaking and defense and replace Kevin Love. I mean, you got to get Kevin Love out of there. He doesn't want to be there. I don't know how much value you get for him, but if he's willing to take a buyout, I mean, just get him out of there. He does not fit the Cavs' long-term plans. Now, at number 6, it is the Golden State Warriors, and I have them selecting Jalen Suggs. This is the pick that should have went to Minnesota, and Minnesota, what are you thinking winning games at the end of the season? Like, lose. Man, I just don't understand why they were winning games. And I guess on one hand you could say they did the right thing because losing is not good for the NBA. But the way the system is set up, losing allows you to get a lottery pick. And if they would have lost and continued to lose, then maybe they would have been in position to keep their pick. And if it was a top 3 pick, then you're likely to choose from possibly Kuminga, Suggs, Green, even though Jalen Green probably would have gave them another guy that needs the ball. This pick would go to Golden State, and Jalen Suggs would be a good pick. He would be a backup. He would give them another point guard, allow them to get a little bit more creative. I think Golden State should look into trading the pick because they'll have 2 first-round picks. Two lottery picks. I don't know if it's just the fans or the media, but a lot of people are down on Wiseman, which, let me get to that. It's unfair. He played, 3 games since leaving high school, sat out a whole year, going to a team that, it's just a different situation for him. Even though they did not make the playoffs, they had every intention of making the playoffs. I think he'll be a lot better in year 2, but, there's a lot of people who felt like his skill set and drafted him at number 2, that's a whole different subject. But yeah, I would take Jalen Suggs at number 6. And then at number 7, it is the Toronto Raptors. I think Jalen Johnson would be a perfect fit here. I'm a big fan of Toronto's development program. Jalen Johnson is a guy that I think has a lot of talent. He can do a lot of things with his versatility. Needs to improve his outside shot. Even though the numbers suggest that he was a pretty good outside shooter, I think that he's the opposite of Evan Mobley. I think that his shooting touch and his numbers are telling a lie. But I like, again, what he would bring to the table is versatility. I think he has upside as a defender. And I've said in previous podcasts, I think he's going to have to answer a lot of questions about how he left Duke and, the number of high schools that he went to. But I think it's a very good fit for Toronto, and I think they could get the most out of him. So I have Jalen Johnson from Duke. I don't even know, does he want to be considered a Duke guy? Remember how, on the NFL Monday Night Football games, some guys do not want any relationship with their college and they'll just go straight to their high school. They'll be like John Doe, School of Hard Knocks, or John Doe, Jane Smith High. That's something that I want to look out for. Let's see if he gets claimed by Blue Devil Nation. And let's get into the second half of my mock lottery 2.0. It is the Orlando Magic on the clock again. I had them selecting Jonathan Kuminga. And why not add another wing and Moses Moody, the 3-and-D wing from Arkansas. I've pretty much been consistent with Moody in this range going 8 to Orlando. I just think it's a good fit there. At number 9, it is the Sacramento Kings, and I have them selecting Usman Garuba. I think the Kings just need a defensive-minded glue guy, role player. I mean, they have guys that put the ball in the basket. They have guys that are scorers, but they're just missing an intangible glue guy, defender. And Garuba could put a little bit of pressure on Marvin Bagley. On one hand, you have to feel sorry for Bagley. It's totally not his fault he was selected number 2. You look at that draft class, Ayton is starring for the Phoenix Suns, who had the number 1 seed. We all know about Luka Doncic. We know about Trae Young. You got Jaren Jackson Jr., who's playing for Memphis, which has been competitive, a lot more competitive than people thought against Utah. And then you have Marvin Bagley, who's been struggling with injuries, ends up in Sacramento, and he's a guy that unfortunately is always going to be remembered for being selected over Luka Doncic. I've seen the reports that his dad tweeted something, and Bagley may be in a need for a change of scenery. But again, if I'm Sacramento at this point, I'm selecting Garuba, and I'm just rolling the ball out and letting them compete for the starting job. And the main reason I think Garuba would be a good fit because the Sacramento Kings had a historically bad defense. Garuba is an excellent defender, probably or arguably the best defender in this draft. He's been able to defend at a high level playing in Europe. And again, the Kings need defense. I don't know. I think the last time the Kings were in the playoffs, I was probably wearing 4X tees and polos and pinwheels. So Sacramento definitely needs to make some changes there. But yeah, let me just go on to number 10. I have the New Orleans Pelicans. They have some decisions to make. And let me just tell my opinion about the Pelicans. I'll go ahead and express this one. I think on paper they look really good. I feel like Memphis does not look as good as New Orleans on paper. But Memphis has a great coach in Taylor Jenkins. Their pieces fit. I think Ja Morant is easier to build around, and his game has more impact than Zion Williamson. I'm probably going to get a few people questioning me about that one. But the Pelicans have talent, man. They have veterans. The pieces just don't fit. I think Zion is tough to build around. If there were a floor spacing 5 available in this draft, that would be a no-brainer for the Pelicans. But there's not. I don't know if Lonzo Ball is going to be back next year. If he's not, then who knows what they're going to do with Bledsoe. But I would go with James Bouknight. I think a James Bouknight and Kyra Lewis backcourt would be pretty fun to watch. Be a little thin along with Brandon Ingram, but Bouknight will give the Pelicans an additional scorer. That would be my choice there. At number 11, it is the Charlotte Hornets. They need a big. Even though Zeller and Biyombo were their bigs last year and Charlotte was competitive, I feel like they would have been a playoff team if they didn't have injuries to LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. They had 2 centers from last year's draft, Nick Richards and Vernon Carey. I'm taking another one. I'm going with Alperen Sengun. I think he would be a good fit there. He'd give them a low post presence. He may not be like this vertical athlete that you would like to pair with LaMelo, but I think that he'd be, like I said, a good low post presence, a good passer. And if he's the next Nurkic, I think that's a pretty good value pick right there at number 11. At number 12, I have the San Antonio Spurs. They need to rebuild, in my opinion. Just break it up. I mean, they got quite a few young guys, but they just need to fully embrace rebuilding. They're going to spend too many years, in my opinion, with late lottery picks. But you never know. I mean, they could hit it out the park. They were able to hit it out the park with Kawhi, even though they did not draft him. But I have Franz Wagner as my pick there. At number 13, it is the Indiana Pacers. I think Davion Mitchell would be a good fit there. He added some additional depth in the backcourt. I mean, the Pacers have been killed with injuries the past few years. I like LeVert a lot. I like the LeVert-Brogdon backcourt, but I feel like adding another combo guard that can play both guard positions, that can add defense and shooting, if you're a believer in his outside shooting, I think Mitchell would be a good pick there. And wrapping up Mock Lottery 2.0, it is the Golden State Warriors on the clock again, and I'm selecting Keon Johnson. Now, I know the Warriors need shooting, and I know Keon Johnson doesn't fit the bill as a shooter, but I think that he could go anywhere from 7 to 14. I have him falling to 14. He'd give the Warriors a player that I think that they could develop and bring along slowly. He's a little raw, super talented. I think he has a really high upside. He may not be able to crack their rotation and get minutes as a rookie. You never know. He may be able to. You never know. But like I said, I think he's a guy that you can develop and bring along slowly if you have to send him down to Santa Cruz, which you don't really like seeing lottery picks going down to the G League. But again, it's the Warriors. They'll have Klay Thompson. They will be competing for a championship next year. So I think they'll have the luxury of being able to bring a guy like Keon Johnson along slow and develop him. And if the Warriors' development staff is great, then you end up with a steal at number 14. But if I'm Golden State with 2 lottery picks, trying to win now, I think I'm looking to trade at least 1 or 2 of the picks and see if I can get a veteran, because I think they really need some outside shooting. So that's what I would do. But this is Rafael Barlow. You are listening to Locked On NBA Draft. I am thankful for each and every listen, each and every download, each and every view on my YouTube channel, and to everyone that has visited my NBA Draft Junkies website. Again, it's Rafael. You're listening to Locked On NBA Draft, and I'm out.